Did you see the video of Lonzo Ball talking about Fred Vinson?
No.
So he said that, I think it was a podcast with like him and Trae Young. He's like, it's 3 weeks until the season starts. And he comes to me and said, yeah, we're going to change your jump shot before the season starts. Like completely reworked it. So someone in the chat was asking, do you think he would do the same thing with Ausar? Because when you look at Ausar's shot, not saying it's bad, but like the mechanics of it kind of just give me anxiety. Because I was like, maybe you can kind of rework it. Do you think maybe Fred Vinson sits down with him and maybe they try to rework a shot that's a little bit more fluid?
I definitely hope so. Like that's a big part of why I was excited about Fred Vinson being hired. The thing with Ausar was so funny, right? Lots of people noticed this. I'm not the only person who said this, but when he took like those like sub 10-foot mid-range jumpers, his form looked a lot more natural and clean, and he looked comfortable doing it. When he took free throws or when he took threes or like a catch and shoot three, you could see mentally him like working through the process of taking the shot in a way that probably not great if you're trying to like do stuff at like live action. So I definitely think there's an opportunity there for that shot to be reworked in a way that is both like fluid and comfortable for Ausar, but like also like makes him a somewhat accurate shooter. I don't think you'll ever get to Ausar being like Malik Beasley. Like I don't think that's in the cards. But like I would really hope to fix Asar's free throw shooting. He was it's a below average free throw shooter, and he is the type of player, his style of play, that he could get fouled a lot. And so it'd be really beneficial to fix his free throw form or fix his free throw stroke before anything else. And I was like, yeah, well, they'll figure that out though. I do think that's a large part of the reason why they brought Fred Vinson in.
Yeah, I mean, in a group chat, I was talking with some people, and they were like, well, like, what's the difference between Ron and Ausar? Like, Ron Holland shot terribly in the G League. I was like, well, Ron's form, there's less to work with there, and there's more fluidity in it. Well, I could not say that word. Holy crap! There's more to work with there, to where I think if you work with him over like the next year or so, who's to say he's not like 30 to 32 from three? With Ausar, it kind of like, to your point, like when he's like those like turnaround like mid-range jumpers, they look really pure and they don't look forced. And when he's shooting a three, it's like kind of sideways, or his feet aren't straight, or shoulders like twisted. And his free throws bother the crap out of me because he doesn't bounce the ball before he shoots it. I know it's probably the stupidest thing to complain about, but watching, like, he doesn't dribble the ball, and it gives me anxiety. I was like, dude, dribble the ball. What are you doing?
Yeah. So I want to give Matt Way, who used to write for us at Detroit Bad Boys, and now is just like a good Pistons follow. He tweeted something that like really resonated with me. He says he found it really interesting that people assumed that like Ron Holland was a terrible shooter because he shot a low percentage from three on a very low number of attempts. But like people were skeptical of Cody Williams because he shot really well from three, again on a low number of attempts. And so it's like one of those things where it's like, okay, Ron makes 2 more threes over the course of a season, and like all of a sudden he's a 30% 3-point shooter instead of a 27% 3-point shooter, and people are a lot more like interested in it, especially because like you mentioned, like Ron Holland's shot doesn't look broken, right? It looks like he can shoot. It just looks like he like needs some work. And I will say like that was also the case for Buzelis, who shot worse than Holland from three in the G League. But it's like the adjustment from the high school line to the NBA line, which the G League uses, is a really big difference for 18, 19-year-olds. And so you would think that like, you know, a couple off seasons of strength training and just being able to get more comfortable with like the distance of the shot, and like those guys would develop into better shooters. That was one thing I remember like Bruce Brown saying, is that like after his rookie year, he was like, I never realized how far the NBA 3-point line was until you're just like out there like trying to chuck it from 23 feet.
I saw and you mentioned Bruce Brown, and it made me think of an NBA University chart I saw. Like Bruce was like elite from the right corner, but like completely terrible from the left corner. I was like, wow, how does that happen? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, to your point, like I think it's a fair point with like Collins. Like I think when you watch his jump shot, there's more to work with there, and it's a little bit more fluid. With the SARs, I think, from a good 5 to 10 feet, it's natural. Anything, past that, it seems like he's really has to like put his chest or his shoulder into it to even like hit the rim. But towards the end of the year, I think he was shooting like close to 28% from three before he had to sit out with blood clots. So he was developing.
He did seem to shoot a little bit better because he had like the facial fracture, right? He got elbowed in the face, and it seemed like after he like got the mask off from that, he got more comfortable with like taking some of those shots. I've been watching like a bunch of Cade highlights because that's what I do during the off season, and you can see like you can see his assists to Ausar are like, you see Ausar like just like looking slightly more comfortable than he did at the beginning of the season. The Knicks game that they infamously lost because Ausar got tackled and they didn't call the foul. You could see like Cade. You remember Cade had a really great game that night, and Ausar hit like a late three, and you could just like hear the disbelief in Mike Breen's voice. And he's like, Ausar Thompson, like from the corner, like what?
Like the bang he had was just like bang, like he was like in this moment. He didn't want to say it. It's like wow. Yep. Oh man, like I honestly, I think it's very intriguing to see if he does rework his jump shot. I think a lot of players will benefit from Fred Vinson. Honestly, I mean, they haven't really had a shooting coach that's like David Hoopla under Van Gundy's staff. So we'll see.